ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining us for the October Arch meeting. I'm excited about the opportunity for us to talk all together about some of the challenges that our community is facing regarding homelessness and housing insecurity. There's a vast array of knowledge gathered on this call, and so I think that it's a good opportunity for us to talk about some of the current situation, as well as some possible solutions, or do a little bit of problem solving together. So I'm excited for our time together. Thanks for making the space in your calendar to be here with us today. So just a quick bit of housekeeping here. Go ahead and put your phones or your computers on mute when you are not speaking, and that will help keep some of the background noise down. I'm hoping that I don't have to global mute us all, but certainly if we get to that place, I'll use that function if I have to. Please do not put us on hold, because then we end up hearing your music. There is a time at the end for us to share announcements, and also to talk a little bit about what might be going on within the realm that you're most familiar. And then if you haven't already, I would invite you to place your name and maybe the agency you're with, your contact information if you so choose, in the chat, so that others can take a look at that and can know who's on the call with us today, and or get in touch with you if they have need to do that. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to stop, actually. I have this red line across my screen. Do you guys see that? I'm actually not sure if it's sharing or not, but if you guys see this big red line across the screen, I apologize for that. I don't know where it came from or how to get rid of it.
It is there, Lee. I can see it.
I don't know what it is. So I apologize for that. If anybody knows the secret of how to get rid of it, just let me know. We're going to ignore it, though. Okay, so the overview for today is basically reviewing some data that's been gathered from two recent surveys. One was conducted with those who were experiencing street homelessness and or who were panhandling within Lafayette Parish. And the other one is taken from the call logs with 232 Help and 211 regarding those who were seeking assistance with shelter or stabilizing their housing situation. Then we'll have a time for some questions and answers and discussion about that data and about the current challenges related to housing and homelessness.
Continue on like this one, Doc. I got you. Yeah.
Just a reminder to place yourself on mute, please.
Just want to get it done, and I want to get it done right, but appreciate you.
Okay, well, I just global muted everybody. You'll have to press the buttons to unmute yourself if there's something you would like to chime in and say. And then we'll have an opportunity for you all to share your own agency announcements, any requests that you might have, any offers of assistance that you might want to share with the group. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to be talking through some data that was gathered at the first week of October. So this is relatively new data. It was done with those individuals who are outside experiencing homelessness in Lafayette Parish, and or those who were seen panhandling, requesting money, standing on a sidewalk somewhere. There were 54 participants that were surveyed, and this survey was conducted by multiple agencies, folks from Catholic Charities, as well as VOA's PATH program, as well as outreach centers, outreach staff, ARCH staff. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out, but if I am, please let me know. And so it was definitely a collaborative effort in getting everybody that we saw during that week who was either standing outside on a street corner or on a sidewalk requesting financial assistance from the general public, or who was sitting on a sidewalk, even if they weren't asking for the monies, visible in public space, they received a survey. And so this was how that broke down. There were, by gender and by veteran status, there were 41 male respondents, 10 female respondents, and then 3 with no response. Then we had 10 veterans of that population, of the 54 on the street. Those veterans are what we call self-reported veterans, and they may or may not be receiving assistance through the VA, or they may or may not be eligible to receive assistance through the VA. And this is how...
Hey, Lee.
Yes.
This is Andy. A question about the veterans one. Is that veterans that were on our scope somewhere at some point in time, or is that brand new to our region veterans?
It's kind of a mix, and I didn't break down by veterans whether they were already in our program or not, but I do have a slide later that for the whole population that was sheltered, what percentage was already within our system and which are new.
Gotcha.
We have a meeting with the VA next Friday, and so by that point I'll break down the veteran data specifically, but I didn't do it for today, sorry. I can send it to you though.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anybody else has any questions as we go through it, please feel free to jump in here. So we did have the breakdown by race and ethnicity, which you can see right here. 23 white respondents, 23 Black or African American respondents, 2 responding that they were of American Indian, and 5 that listed multiple races. And then primarily non-Hispanic, 1 Hispanic responder. The number of adults in the household was generally either 1 or 2. Most indicated that there was only 1 adult within their household. We had 11 that said there was 2 adults in their household. And so there were 4 women within that population. One of the women did indicate that there was a child in the household who was experiencing literal homelessness. We had 15 participants in the survey who declined to answer how many people and whether they were adults or children in the household, which may or may not be because people are hesitant to share that they have children who are in their household experiencing homelessness. We try not to read too much into the data, but it may be a reason why that was a question that is not responded to as often as the others. And so again, we were surveying people who were panhandling. Prior to COVID-19, many of the folks in our area who were panhandling were not experiencing literal homelessness. They may have been a little bit insecure in their housing. They may have been looking for some extra cash to maintain that housing. But by and large, the majority of the folks we would see before COVID who were panhandling, we knew to be housed in some way, shape, or form. That's no longer true. The change is very evident to us. Of the 54 people who were surveyed, 43 indicated that they were sleeping in a location that we would consider unsheltered. So that's outside. Some of those were in their vehicle. 2 said they were in their vehicle. Another 6 said that they were not currently homeless, though most of those were in a situation that was not very stably housed. And then we had 3 that declined that question. Oh, I'm sorry. I have switched from the street survey to the 211 survey on this slide. So this is of the 78 who were part of the 211 survey. This is right. This was the street survey. Sorry. Okay, so then the length of time since they were last stably housed has been another question that has been asked recently. And so looking at the data, we had 15 who were relatively new to homelessness, and we went with the either 1 to 2 year range, and then 20 who indicated that they were mostly homeless for longer than 2, less than 9 years. A handful, 5 of them, who said that they were homeless for longer than 10 years, and then 14 who either didn't know how to answer that question or chose not to answer that question. Again, this is a self-reported response. And so in many cases, since the last time they were stably housed, they may have been in and out of some precariously housed situations during that time period. But this is the way they answered the question about how long has it been since you were last stably housed. We asked those who were surveyed in the street survey what they thought the cause of their homelessness was. 24 responded it was because of a loss of or a reduction of employment income. 12 responded that it was due to a loss of a key relationship, which could be divorce or death. There were a couple of other responses that included things like a physical health issue, a behavioral health issue, COVID-19, and domestic violence. Everyone was asked how often they panhandle and were given the option of never, occasionally, or often. And you can see how it's split out. 17 said never, 19 said occasionally, and 14 said often. Of the ones that said that they panhandle at all, ever, often, or occasionally, 26 of them were unsheltered. 4 are currently homeless but are sheltered in one of the hotels that we've been using to expand the shelter capacity. And 2 are currently not homeless but are in a situation that is precariously housed. So again, as I mentioned, before COVID, this would have been probably exactly the opposite, where the vast majority of folks who were panhandling within Lafayette Parish were not homeless, though they may have been precariously housed. A few would have been in a shelter and a few would have been unsheltered. And so this is a marked difference that COVID has made in our community. So again, of the 54 who were surveyed across Lafayette Parish, there were 27 of those who were already working with a case manager of some variety, some of whom are actually in housing programs and are in housing search mode and are very close to being housed. Others were just beginning to work with case managers. There were 8 who had been working with a program at some point in the past and had then been stably housed and are now returning to homelessness and had not yet reconnected with a case manager. Of course, the day of the survey, they did connect with the case manager, and so now they would be working with somebody. Let's see, there's a question in the chat about whether the PowerPoint will be available after the call, and yes, it will be. This whole presentation is being streamed by the Acadiana Open channel and will be available after in the recorded format. So other interesting points here are that we had 11 folks that had no record of homelessness in Service Point. No record in Service Point at all. An additional 5 that had a record in homeless in Service Point, but no homeless services provided. So those 16 are newly homeless, have never been part of our system before. And the 5 of them had perhaps received some type of assistance, like food assistance or utility assistance or something like that in the past. but never had been in a shelter program or received assistance through outreach. This is the breakdown of the age of the respondents. And so you see that we have 3 individuals who are currently outside on the street who are above the age of 65. And we have 5 that would fall within HUD's definition of youth, which is the 18 to 24-year-old population, and then kind of a mixture of the other ages. Okay, so we're switching over to the, with this slide, we're switched over to the 211 survey. So this is the folks that had called in for housing assistance. The number of adults in the household, there was 23 with just 1 adult. There was 23 with 2 adults, a handful with 3 or 4, and then again, we had a good bit of non-responses. And here's the number of children in the household. None or no response was the vast majority. A few acknowledged that they had 1, 2, 3, or 4 children in the household. We know that this is a vastly underreported demographic for those who are experiencing homelessness with children. And this is the location where they are currently. And so 32 reported being unsheltered, 4 reported that they were in their vehicle, 30 reported a precariously housed situation, and then 3 said that they were paying their own way in the hotel. And we had 4 other responses. And again, cross-referencing that log of folks that called 211 for assistance with the known services being provided already. There were 11 that were currently working with some sort of case manager. There was a vast majority of them that had no record in Service Point and were presumably new to experiencing housing instability at all. And 11 who had received some sort of supportive service previously, but did not receive homeless services, and another 18 who had received homeless services at some point in the past, and this was a return to homelessness for them. So we're seeing a huge number of new households becoming homeless and a number of returns to homelessness from situations that were previously somewhat stabilized. I do want to point out that within this survey, there were 4 who indicated that their homelessness was caused by the recent hurricanes, and 1 who reported that it was a fire that caused their homelessness. Does anybody have any questions about, it's a lot of kind of data dump all at one time. Mm-hmm.
I got one little question. Can you back up one slide?
Yep. This one?
Yes. So the question I have is that 11 of them said that they were working with the case manager from the COVID, and I'm wondering, were they ones that were in hotels? And if not, because I'm surprised the 211 survey didn't catch anybody that was in hotels, because it seems like those people would be the ones that were calling 211, you know?
The ones that were in the hotels, I'm sorry, I'm not sure that I'm following.
So on the next slide, you have currently working with the case manager. Mm-hmm. Those 11 people, they wouldn't have been in hotels?
They may have been in a hotel and now working with one of the case managers for rehousing. So they did,
but then the slide before that shows that none of them were in the NCS hotels that I see.
You know why? Because this unsheltered number is actually both those in the hotels and outside.
Gotcha. Sorry, that's okay. Cool. I was just confused by that. That's all. Thanks.
No, good catch. So this is a mixture of those that are either outside or in the hotel. I'll have to go back and look. I think it fell under the unsheltered on accident and may have fell under the precariously housed on accident. But there are a couple that were in the hotel program that were, but the ones currently working with the case manager and this 11, there's only a handful that are in the hotel program right now. Some of them are working directly with outreach staff. Some of them are working with, actually I have one that's in the process of moving into PSH. So this is a variety of different service providers that might be providing that case management support. But it is only the homeless services case managers that I was counting for those 11.
Right. And the last question I have is, so in that slide you have right there, they have that they're in service point with no record of homeless services. How was that done between, because I know 211 doesn't use service point, and I was just wondering.
Cross-referenced.
Done.
So I cross-referenced their list with our list.
Okay.
Based on the people that they surveyed, and we had name and date of birth, so I could deduplicate.
Cool.
Are there any other questions about any of the both the street survey or the 211 survey, or questions just in general about the differences of panhandling or visible homelessness that we're seeing in the community? You may have to unmute yourself if you're trying to talk. Okay, very good. Well, I do want to talk a little bit about what is I do want to talk a little bit about the kind of new approach that ARCH is taking. We're calling some of the work that we're working on right now Project Keystone, which has a couple of different dimensions to it. It is a push to remind us that there's kind of two aspects to addressing homelessness, and that we're centralizing the importance of housing in all of the work that we're doing across the community. The Project Keystone reminds us that just like the Keystone is that centralizing piece of an arch, that our housing and the housing stability is important for the rest of our life to be able to maintain stability. So if our housing is not stable and secure, then it is very difficult for us to maintain education, employment, healthcare, whether that's behavioral health or physical health, as well as just any personal growth opportunities. Doing all of that when housing is unstable makes it just that much harder to accomplish any of those goals. And so Project Keystone is our reminder to ourselves and to the community that housing is where we stabilize kind of the rest of our life. And we need to do that by focusing on both preventing homelessness and then also rapidly rehousing those who have already become homeless. And it kind of takes both pieces of that puzzle to get it done. And so things that help to prevent homelessness are certainly things like rental assistance, but also the legal aid components and utility assistance, those types of things that can help people understand their tenant rights and responsibilities, as well as things that help landlords to be able to help people stay housed rather than go through an eviction process, ways that we might be able to mediate that. All of those would fall under homeless prevention. And then the rapid rehousing piece is a reminder that the faster we can get people into housing and out of homelessness, the faster we can end the trauma of homelessness for that family, then the more likely they are to be able to stay housed in the future. And so we are working quickly to identify available and affordable housing units that are both safe and decent as well, so that people can move quickly if they need to get moved out of their current situation for safety reasons, or if they have already become homeless and they need to reestablish housing. So Arch has been, as many of you know, working through the hotel sheltering program to help those who have been sheltered in the hotel program obtain new housing. As such, we have recently hired a housing specialist to assist with housing search. So there is just a person dedicated to finding available and affordable housing units on the Arch staff now. And so that's a relatively new piece of the puzzle that we can offer to the community. If you need assistance finding available and affordable housing, and if your clients do, that's something that you can reach out to Arch for some assistance with. We've also expanded to include a number of case managers who are working really hard with folks who have already become homeless to reestablish housing, and will soon be working in partnership with the Louisiana Housing Corporation and the Governor's Rent Assistance Program to process the applications that were received a couple of months ago for the Governor's Rent Assistance Program for people that were on the verge of becoming homeless, to see if they've stabilized or if they still need the assistance, and providing case management to those households as well when we can. And so the Arch staff has really grown. In March, it was just me. And now there are about 14. And by November 1st, we're going to have 20 on staff at Arch. And so we are really excited about the opportunities and to help us to make sure that we're making really thoughtful decisions as we move forward, and to work collectively and collaboratively across this continuum with each and every one of you. We've also just this week, yesterday, hired Elsa Dimitriadis, who's on the call right now, to be Arch's impact strategist and to help us think through equity issues as we approach housing, and justice issues as we approach the collaborative and collective impact that we can all work together to have, and to make a more informed decision about how we move through this new world that brings us COVID, and all the things we need to think through there. And so I'll pause for a second. Elsa, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm just really excited about the work that Arch has been doing, and where we can move in the future. And I'm just really excited to be part of this team. I look forward to leveraging a lot of relationships that I was able to make through United Way, and continue to grow those relationships and lean on those people. Carrie just said congratulations. Carrie's a great example. I'm so excited to continue to work with many of you who I have in the past. So please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, concerns, suggestions, etc. My phone/door is always open. So thanks, Lee.
We're super excited. Okay, so we have a good bit of time now, and sort of intentionally left a little bit of time here for us to talk through what you might be seeing in the community, what you might have in terms of client needs, if there's something that you're doing within this space that you want to make sure everybody is aware of in terms of addressing housing instability. If you have announcements about what's happening within your agency, that's the time for that. And certainly if anybody still has any questions about any of that data, let me know. I think there was a couple of questions in the chat. We'll try to get those either clarified or send you the correct information when we send out the slides. Not everybody all at one time. Are there announcements about something that's going on at your agency that you want to share?
Hi, Lee. This is Cheryl Chauvin Lewis from Acadiana Area Human Services District. Hello, everyone on the call. If I missed it, I apologize in advance. What area does ARCH serve? Is it just Lafayette Parish, or it's the surrounding areas as well?
A great question. Thanks for asking that. No, we serve the 8 parish area that's generally referred to as Acadiana. Let's see, Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, St. Mary, and Vermilion. That's our region. And so the panhandling survey was just conducted in Lafayette. It was just kind of a tight circle, quick survey there. But the 211 information is from a broader regional pool of just a selection of the calls that were referred our way because of housing instability.
Thank you for that explanation.
Sure, great question.
Hey, Lee, is there a plan to expand that point in time out to the other regions? Because being that I am in one of the outer regions, I've seen quite a few in some of them.
Yes, we have definitely been, and there are agencies within ARCH who are conducting outreach in those areas. Outreach is one of the things that is a challenge for us in terms of what is available. I'm just thinking about, I think I skipped over something. Anyway, outreach is one of the things that is a challenge for all of the communities, but in particular for some of those outer parish communities. There's not a lot of resources available for outreaching those areas. There are 3 and 1 part-time outreach workers that cover the whole region. And so we just don't have a lot of boots on the ground, frankly. We do a point-in-time survey in January every year. And so we may wait until January to get that survey done. We've talked a little bit about what it would take to do a survey sooner than January. There was some push to do a survey of the panhandling situation in Lafayette because of some of the political pressure. And so we wanted to respond to that with some actual data, to be frank. And that political pressure hasn't been as evident in some of the more rural areas, though certainly if anybody else is experiencing that and I'm just not hearing about it, let me know, and I'm happy to see what we can do to help. We want to be data driven in all that we do. And so it's important that when decisions regarding policy are being made, that we make those with informed decisions based on actual data. And anything that was true pre-COVID isn't necessarily true anymore regarding homelessness and housing instability in our communities. And so it's real important for us to do what we can to try to gather in that data so that it can inform policy and decisions and resource use, et cetera.
Hey Lee, it's Jelena. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I have a question. Previously, due to some of the guys have been, guys and ladies have been incarcerated for longer periods of time. And, in the past, we weren't able to consider them as homeless because of them staying in for so long. Well, because of the pandemic and other things, they've been having to stay longer than they were originally supposed to. Mm-hmm. Would they be able to qualify? Let me see how I should word it. Would they qualify for housing?
Yeah, I think I understand kind of what you're asking. Right. So just for context for the rest of the folks on the call, generally a lot of the programs that provide housing to people who have been experiencing homelessness have to follow the HUD definitions of homelessness. And one of the things that HUD uses to define homelessness is the length of time that somebody was incarcerated if they're coming into homelessness from incarceration. Generally, if you go into incarceration homeless and you come out of incarceration homeless, and you were in jail for less than 90 days, you're still homeless. But if you're in jail for 91 or more days, generally HUD says you're not homeless. It's one of those things that happens at the federal level where they determine that now that somebody has been housed by the Department of Corrections. And so they're not eligible for some of the HUD housing assistance directly out of incarceration if their incarceration is longer than 90 days. There is a waiver in place right now. Jelena, I'd have to go back and look to see what the actual number is. I think it's 180 days that they've pushed it up to so that they could stay a little bit longer, recognizing that that's a reality right now. I'll look it up for you and then I'll get back to you and see. And certainly if there's somebody where that might make a difference, just reach out to me directly and we can try to problem solve.
Okay, thank you.
Any other announcements, or are there needs that you're seeing? Andy mentioned increase in homelessness within some of the rural parishes. Anything your agency is doing that you think might be helpful within this realm?
Please, Cheryl Chauvin again. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you have any data on the rural parishes homeless rate?
We have some. We have, right now there are some individuals who are in the hotel shelter program that are in some of those rural parishes. So I have some numbers I can provide you about that. By and large, our shelters right now are operating at a very reduced capacity or are operating out of the hotel shelter program directly and not in their traditional shelter environments. So that's been one of the challenges that our community has faced as COVID restrictions have meant that shelters have to reduce their capacity. We can't, normally we place as many people as we can under one roof just to get everybody inside. With COVID safety precautions in place, we can't do that safely. And it would jeopardize the health of an already vulnerable population. And so shelters are few and far between, much reduced capacity. We've also had a couple of shelters close in our region permanently. And so even as we begin to find ways to operate more safely, those shelters are not coming back online. So we know we're going to be facing a shelter shortage for a long time in this community. And so that's all happening at exactly the same time that the needs are increasing. The population is experiencing a higher rate of homelessness. We've had an 83% overall increase in homelessness since March, and approximately a 200% increase in family homelessness. The data is pretty startling about that. And so as the needs increasing and the shelter is decreasing, that means we have a huge population of unsheltered homelessness, more than we've ever seen in our region before. And that is true in all of the parishes that, it's true across the state, it's true across the country. And so I think our challenge is to figure out how do we do homeless services? How do we work towards safe, decent, affordable housing for everybody in a COVID world? What does that look like and what does that mean? And it's not going to look the way it did before. The way we do outreach doesn't look the way it did before. We have masks and shields and all the rest of it. The way we do shelter can't look the same, but even the way we provide hygiene services, the way we provide food assistance to those who are living unsheltered or precariously housed, all of that is different in a COVID world. And we have to be mindful of that as we go through it. We do have some data, but right now, unsheltered homelessness is hard to count due to a lack of outreach resources.
Data prior to the pandemic would be awesome as well.
Yeah, we have that. My email is arch@archacadiana.org. If anybody is looking for answers to specific questions, feel free to give me an email. And Ms. Cheryl, if you'll send me just an email reminder of what you're looking for, I'll send you back the information.
Will do.
Thanks.
I have one more question.
Sure, yeah.
We are currently in the jail at a shortage on clothing and other hygiene items for the offenders that are releasing. Like I said, some of them have stayed longer than they expected and have gained weight or lost weight, some of them, but we're getting into the winter months and we're in need of clothing for them. If anyone knows of an agency that's willing to donate clothing, or even individuals who are willing to donate anything, we're accepting.
Where would somebody go, or who would they contact if they have a solution for you?
They can contact me or one of the other coordinators here at the sheriff's office.
Okay. Do you want to put your contact information in the chat?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Does anybody have a resource for clothing or toiletries to share?
This is Vicki at the Extra Mile. We have a lot of clothes that we give out to the public from Mondays to Fridays from 9 to 1. And we're located on 616 Stewart Street.
So they would be able to go there perhaps immediately after being released?
Yes.
On those days and times. Would that work?
Hi,
Or do you need somebody to bring it to the jail?
Yeah.
They would have to come and shop.
That would
The sheriff did that. I'm sorry.
It would work for some of them, but some of them gain weight to where they can't fit the clothes that they came in with, and they need the clothing to leave.
So anyone from your department can come and shop for them.
Yes, ma'am. We've gone a few times for some of the individuals, but and we're very grateful. Thank you for that. But if you have anything that we can come and get in large quantities, we'll accept that as well.
Okay, we can start putting, if you could just send me a text or an email, and we can kind of like put some things on the side for you guys.
Thank you.
Great. Are there others who have needs or want to share announcements or things that you're doing right now?
I have a question.
Yeah. Hi, Lindsay.
And this is just something that's been on my mind, and this is something y'all may have already thought about, but what are the ways that people can best serve people experiencing homelessness with regard to voting? Because I know they're like not in a precinct, they don't have an address, but they should, you know, they still have the right to vote. I'm also going to be an election commissioner on election day. And, you know, I want to know, like, I want to be really, you know, welcoming to people who come in and they just say, I don't have housing, I don't have an address. And do they fill out a provisional ballot? Or, I mean, is it the kind of thing where it's like if you're not voting in, if you go to the wrong precinct or something and you're supposed to be in a different one, but you can only vote for like president, but you can't vote for like the local, like city council rep kind of thing. I'm just wondering what the deal is with that.
And I don't know, actually, a lot of the answers to those questions. Does anybody else on the call know that? So I will say that I know that there are voter registration drives that happen within homeless service providers across the country. We have not had capacity to do one locally, and so I haven't looked up all the details for what that would involve. But it brings up lots of interesting questions for me.
Yeah, I mean, I just
wanted
wanted
it's possible for people who do not have an address to vote, but I'm not sure what the details are.
and I can ask. Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is Vicki at the Extra Mile. We've been having the homeless to come and register to vote, and we use our site, as their mailing address. So they get a lot of their mail here because they don't have a physical address.
Yeah, thanks so much. That mailing address comes in as very necessary for a number of different things. And so allowing them to use the address at the Extra Mile is incredibly helpful for a number of people. Thank you for that service. And certainly for voting, that would be helpful.
I think it's just important for people who are homeless not to be disenfranchised just because they are temporarily without housing.
Mm-hmm.
Lee, could we not encourage people to vote in advance? If you have ID and you're going to one of the centers to early vote, it doesn't matter where you go within the parish, right? I mean, everybody can go to the MLK Center.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but people could early vote.
Registered. You just have to be properly registered at this point. And so, mm-hmm.
But I mean, rather than trying to find their precinct on the day of.
Right, we could do that. It's a great idea.
Just throwing spitballs, you know?
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you. Oh, somebody's chatting at me that there is a option for people to denote a street corner or even a park as their residence in lieu of a traditional home address on a registration form if they need to do that. So that's exciting. That's definitely a thing that I want to put on future.
Hi, Lee. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
This is something,
do you have a radio in the background, or is that somebody else?
Probably my TV doing turn it off.
Okay, yeah, we're hearing
Sorry
your TV.
about that.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I was multitasking. My nonprofit Seasons to Greenleaf is in need of adult diapers.
Adult diapers or
yes.
Children? Okay.
I have the children, but been getting a lot of requests for the adult diapers for the disabled or, for a caregiver. Usually the larger sizes, extra large sizes that we're in need of. And I can be reached at my email at adurell301@yahoo.com.
Great. And can you put that in the chat as well?
Yes. Thank you.
Leah?
Yes.
Leah, this is Marie. Yes. So the person who's asking about the adult diapers, if she calls Helping Families of Acadiana, which is 984-3458. They just got some adult diapers also, and so I'm not sure if they still have some, but you can definitely call. And also Thinstead, which is THENSTED in Grand Coteau.
Can I get that info in the chat box, please?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. That's exactly what this time can be really great for, is matching folks that have a need with folks that might have a solution for it. So thanks for that. I do want to mention, while there's kind of a pause here, that Arch is in the process of adding new board members to our board of directors. And so if any of you are interested in submitting an application to be a board member of Arch, just email me, arch@archacadiana.org, and I'll get you the application and information about that. All right, is there anything else we would like to share with one another? Any other questions, announcements, offers, needs? Thanks, Matt.
I have one other thing.
Sure.
Okay, so the DSA, that's a Democratic Socialists Association, is having a free store at the Fightingville Fresh location, which is on Simcoe Street. I can put the address and everything in the chat. And it is going to be this event to, they're going to have things like food and toiletries and masks and just probably a lot of other stuff too. And it's just free, no questions asked, free while supplies last. I'm still looking for this event announcements. Okay, here we go. Free food, hygiene products, socks and underwear, masks, and more. 11 a.m. Saturday, October 24th at Fightingville Fresh. So yeah, I can type this in the chat so that people can pass it on to just anybody who happens to be in that vicinity on Saturday and needs some things.
Great, thanks.
Hi, Lee. This is Zena again.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot, I just want to announce that Quiet Town Coteries annual block party will be held on October 31st. And we will have supplies for, and this is a free event, we will have supplies for people in our area and others as well from different parishes. It's a drive-through block party, and we're going to be partnered with Second Harvest, Doug Ashley Building Materials, LCG, and more. And there's going to be a lot of supplies, groceries, socks, things of that nature, household supplies that they can line up and get. And it starts at 11 a.m. October 31st.
Did you say a drive-through block party?
Yes, ma'am.
That's an interesting and neat twist on a idea.
Yes, the kids can dress up for Halloween. We're going to have candy as well, different tables, but they have to stay in their cars and masks are required. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Clancy, did you put that information in the chat box?
Hey, yeah, yes, hang on, let me, I accidentally sent it privately to someone.
Okay.
Let me do that over again, but put it actually where
Okay.
everyone can see it. Yeah,
Yes,
that's so easy to do in Zoom. All right, that's the address.
Does anyone else have any other announcements, needs for your organization, things you want to mention?
Vicky, can you also send that information that you were talking about for those who are homeless, for where they can use your address as the address to go and vote? If you could put that in the chat box as well.
Unfortunately, I'm not on Zoom. I'm just on the call, but I can send it to Acadiana Arch, and she can put that on.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Great. Okay. Well, final call for any announcements or needs or offers of assistance. The next Arch meeting is going to be held on November 19th at noon. That's the third Thursday. We usually meet on a fourth Thursday, but I love you guys, but I didn't want to do Thanksgiving with you. So we will do it the week prior. And so I'll see all of you, I hope, on November 19th at noon. If you have any questions or need anything in the meantime, feel free to send me an email at arch@archacadiana.org, arch@archacadiana.org. Thanks very much for making time today. I really appreciate that. Hope you all have a wonderful week.